Many people think orchids are really exotic, therefore they should be very difficult to maintain indoors, where actually just the opposite is true. The moth orchid, this Phalaenopsis type like this, is much more easy to take care of indoors than most any other houseplant. They shouldn't be placed in front of a window. They need bright light but indirect, never have the sun shine on them. They're typically grown in a large chunk bark. We just give a chunk bark something to grab onto and hold them in the pot, not really for a nutrient or water holding capacity like we would most plants. It's once a week, hold them under the faucet or use a pitcher, just pour the water through it, it runs out the bottom. But that's more than enough water year-round, just one time a week. Very simply, I'd keep it off the foliage. A dilute houseplant fertilizer, maybe once a month, is more than enough. I'd probably avoid that in the winter. And just enjoy them. As you can see here, they come in a broad range of colors. We have the petite flowers like this yellow with the magenta veins, all the way up to the much larger pure white flower on this one. The lime greens, which is that popular decorator color now, to the purple tones. Now they're typically grown in these plastic pots, mostly just as something to hold them and give the roots something to hang on to. But very often it's advisable to take these out of the pot and pot them into another pot. But you might notice these here I have in front, and they have these holes in the side of the pot. That's because as these grow attached to leaves, they're up in the air in their native state on the tree branches. We don't need a solid pot around them, so we have these open to simulate that open air, and yet we have this container to hold them in place, give the roots something, and they'll actually come out and look very decorative. And of course we get different hole patterns. They're simply for decoration, so you pick a color and a hole pattern you like, transplant the plant into it, and it does really well. This one has already been planted up, and to here we've added some decorative moss into this container and a couple little black Japanese type riverstone just added in there for a little visual interest, and that changes the whole appearance of that pot as we dress it up for our interior use as an interior decorator item. The other thing to note, they bloom on these flower spikes, and they'll typically bloom for 6-8 months sometimes. Now, if they finish blooming, it's important never to cut the flower spike off. If you do, it may not rebloom, or you have to give it special treatment to rebloom. But if it's devoid of flowers, if you come back and cut it at about these joints here, like here and here, count about 3 to 4 joints up and cut it. It will over time send out new branches with new flowers, and we'll just keep maintaining this bloom. Sometimes you keep them in bloom for several years. They're really extremely easy to take care of. Just that once a week watering, pay them attention, just never put them in full sun. And of course keep them out of drafts. We don't want a door to open and blow the cold winter air across them, or nor do we want the air conditioner vent to blow on them or the heat vent to blow on them. But other than that, they're really very, very simple. In fact, they're now the #3 selling potted blooming plant in the United States, only behind poinsettias and chrysanthemums.
For more information, visit your local extension office or visit our website at kansasgreenyards.org.